Nintendo's 2023 is finally over. It was a great year, and probably the last full year of the regular Switch. This is going to be an unscripted video, so it's going to be a bit more open and light, but I want to talk about Nintendo's 2023 and give my overall ranking of it. Nintendo's 2023 was really good. I'd say their 2023 even compared to their 2017 back when the Switch first launched, because that was a really great year and this was also a very great year. So I want to look through things month by month and talk about each main release. Some I haven't played, but I'll still discuss about it and how I feel about it. So without further ado, let's get into January with Fire Emblem Engage. And I thought it was pretty alright. As my first Fire Emblem game, I didn't know exactly what I was getting myself into, and all I heard about Fire Emblem beforehand is just that it was like chess, which it isn't really. It's kind of just like a regular turn-based strategy game, but I won't say it has any correlation to chess, just that you move on a grid-based tile system, kinda. I will say I was a bit disappointed in terms of the story, just like a lot of other people. I knew that Fire Emblem was known for having pretty good stories, at least that's what I expect from a big RPG series, but this one was very basic. Now I will say I have not finished it yet. I did kind of drop it, but I got more than halfway through, because I was just really bored of it. It seemed very generic almost in terms of plot, and kind of predictable too. The gameplay is still very good, I liked a lot of the characters and their designs. I'd say it was still a really good game, and I'd probably give it, at least as of right now, probably like a 7 out of 10. It might not have been my cup of tea, but it was still a really great game. Next up we had Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe, which I only recently picked up, because I never played the original Wii game, and I saw all the new content and it looked pretty fun. Like before, I've not finished Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe, but I've been progressing through it. And as someone who has only in recent memory played Forgotten Land and Triple Deluxe, I'm not that big of a Kirby fan, but I did enjoy my time with it, because it's a pretty good 2D platformer. Although I do have some individual problems with Kirby as a series. I'm just not as big of a fan on really simple 2D platformers that are really easy. I would prefer if there was a bit more in terms of difficulty, or if there were a lot more options for difficulty, which is something that Nintendo seems to be against for some reason. But I think they would really benefit from that, especially Kirby. And I know Star Allies did, I'm pretty sure. And some also probably did, but Return to Dreamland Deluxe did not, nor did Forgotten Land really, outside of just the health difference thing, which really wasn't even that much. So honestly, while I do enjoy Kirby games a lot, especially this one, how easy it's been so far is a bit of a turnoff for me, especially after something like Super Mario Wonder, which has a lot of variety in terms of difficulty, if you know what I mean. Don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to bash on this game just because, oh, it's too easy for me, when obviously, yeah, it's appealed to a younger demographic, but I feel like there could be a bit more range between it. It just feels pretty simple. But regardless, the graphics still look amazing. I'm really impressed with how good they made it look on the Switch, and the epilogue seems like it's going to be a lot of fun from what I've seen. Next up is the Metroid Prime remake, which I was not expecting. I have not played the remake, but I have played some of the original, so I will say, but I am glad they're bringing back another GameCube classic game, as Metroid Prime is one of the best games, kinda ever, that's agreed upon by a lot of people. Even if you're not that big of a Metroid fan, you have to admit it's a very good video game. I feel like in the beginning of the year, it really benefited from having something like Metroid Prime Remastered, and it was just a really great thing for Nintendo to actually do, because I wasn't expecting that. Just like another thing that's going to be later in this video that we're going to talk about that I was not expecting to be brought to Switch. Then later, we had the Mario movie. I made my own video on it, but then I had to take it down because of copyright stuff. And I thought the Mario movie, to sum it up, was a very good movie, obviously. I'm a Mario fan, I'm gonna be biased. The Mario movie, while it did have some problems of pacing and stuff oh, the story wasn't as fleshed out, Luigi didn't have enough screen time. Regardless of that, I think it was a really great movie, and I am honestly surprised Illumination can make something that great, no offense. So honestly, I don't want to get too deep into it here, but big props to Nintendo, big props to Illumination. They really hit that one out of the park, I'd say. And I really think that they're going to make it the definitive Mario movie, with the sequel hopefully coming out sooner than later, because I don't want to wait another decade to get a new Mario movie. Also, on an unrelated note, we did get the announcement of the live-action Zelda movie, which I haven't even talked about yet on my channel, and I'm pretty neutral about it. I'm not really that big of a Zelda guy, so I don't have that big of an opinion, but I am very glad that Nintendo is branching out into new movies. But it's a bit strange that they're doing it with both Sony on that movie, and on the Mario movie they're doing it with Universal. So overall, both movies, I'm really glad they exist, and the Zelda movie is going to happen, and the Mario movie did happen. It's really great stuff, and I'm glad Nintendo's finally relearning how to branch out of video games. Maybe one day we'll get that Splatoon animated series on Netflix. Then we had Advance Wars 1+2 Remastered, which, again, I'm not that big of a fan of Advance Wars, I haven't played it, but I'm so glad they're bringing back older games to try and get a new audience for the Switch, because, again, I've said this a lot probably, but the Switch has a massive audience. They need to capitalize off of this massive audience to get people into their lesser-known franchises, to make those lesser-known franchises big franchises, and that generates more money. So this is good. This I like. And then in April we had, of course, Tears of the Kingdom, which I am so happy released in April. I could not have waited till fall or December or 2025. I am so happy it finally came out. April was like the perfect time for me because I was waiting for something new to play because I hadn't played that much recently, and I just wanted to sit in my room for a whole day playing something. And Tears of the Kingdom was exactly what I needed. So I'm very happy for that. But talking about the actual game itself, it's a lot more than Breath of the Wild DLC, which I feel like people need to say more. It has so much new content. I am astonished that Nintendo never brought up that the underground area existed at all until after the game released. It is amazing how they kept that a secret, and they didn't promote it at all. Like, that's probably like, I don't know, like 15% of all the development, and they just don't bring it up. That's kind of like unheard of, at least from my understanding. But it's something Nintendo would do, which I gotta hand it to them, they handled it perfectly. And then the rest of the game is really great. The Sky Islands, I feel like there could have been a bit more, and I feel like there's a lot more potential with the story, but Tears of the Kingdom was a very great game. Durability did make its return, obviously, but with the fuse mechanic, it made it a lot better. And with Ultra Hand, things got a lot funner. And with all the other new abilities, the game got a lot funner. I like it so much better after all of the Breath of the Wild abilities. I cannot go back to Breath of the Wild after playing Tears of the Kingdom, I am sorry. Soon enough, I'll probably be starting my second playthrough of Tears of the Kingdom. I do wish they had a Master Mode equivalent or something for Tears of the Kingdom, as I would really like a harder challenge without having to like personally limit myself on what I can and can't do. But Tears of the Kingdom was probably my game of the year. An amazing game. You don't need me to say that. Next, let's talk about Pikmin. I love Pikmin. It was actually one of the first few like Nintendo things I really got into, which is kind of surprising because I thought it would be something bigger like Zelda or Kirby, but no, it was Pikmin. And honestly, I'm glad it was Pikmin. I loved Pikmin 3 and all the time I spent on it, and Pikmin 1 too, from the very little but fun time I had with it. Pikmin will always be one of my favorite series of all time, just because of how the gameplay is. I need more like innovative, just like actual like completely new gameplay styles like Dandori and stuff like that. I love it. Pikmin 4 is insanely good. I would make it my game of the year, but there was just a few minor things. Like, I feel like some of the areas could have been a bit more unique. The plot I wasn't a big fan of, and I feel like some of the characters could have been more developed. But then again, this is the most developed characters have really been. This is probably the best Pikmin story. This is probably the best Pikmin gameplay. This is probably the best Pikmin game. There's still a few things I don't really like about it. But that's not saying it's a bad game, not at all. It's still like a 9.5 out of 10 for me. Pikmin 4 is incredible. I love Ochi. I love all the characters. It's just like, I feel like the plot didn't need to like try to retcon everything, but also not. It was very confusing and unnecessary and was kind of a slap in the face to everyone who like followed the story, kind of me included. I didn't really care as much, but it did feel really strange. Also, I wasn't as big of a fan of Ochi. I do love Ochi as a character, but it did kind of change the entire gameplay formula for both good and bad, which, it felt a bit too overpowered if you ask me. Overall, I could go on and on about Pikmin 4, but I'm trying to keep these like little mini reviews quick and only things I can remember off the top of my head. But I do want to talk about Pikmin 1 and 2, which came to Switch. And again, for like the second time now, Nintendo bringing back their smaller properties and introducing them to a big audience. That is good. I like that. Please do that more. Maybe with Mario and Luigi. That would be pretty cool. But regardless, I am so glad they brought them back, and they look a lot better on the Switch, and they feel, and the controls, I like it. Good. Keep doing this, Nintendo. Overall, Pikmin 4, probably like a 9.5 out of 10. I think I mentioned that. Pikmin 1 and 2 on Switch, a 9 out of 10. Really great games. Hey, Lizard, open up. Gecko, what is it this time? Dude, you haven't left your room in a week. I don't know what advice this internet rando gave you, but it's not healthy. Seriously, just leave me alone. I'm getting so much work done just by constantly staying up to date with every Nintendo news update. There's no harm in this, man. Yes, there is when you don't leave your room in a week. I've had to push all of your food through under the door. Gecko, it's not that big of a deal. Just let me do my thing and you do yours. Just leave me alone. This isn't healthy for you, dude. If you're not coming out soon, I'm going in there and taking all your stuff away myself. Shut up, Gecko. You're not my mom. Leave me be. Fine. Next up is Mario Wonder, and I already did a little review thing on it, but not a lot of people watched that, so I'll go over the main gist of it. Mario Wonder is a near perfect Mario game. Everything about Mario Wonder. I'd say the level design, all of the worlds, the story, while it may be simple, is a nice change of pace. The only big thing is the bosses, which I'm sure you've heard a lot of people mention. It is so disappointing, especially on a game which they apparently had no time limit for. I feel like if they literally just made the bosses unique, this would be the best 2D Mario ever, and I'm still kinda thinking it might be. But I'm kinda tied with it on Super Mario World just purely based on nostalgia, so I'm not sure. But Mario Wonder is an incredible game, don't get me wrong. I'd give it like a 9.7 out of 10. Truly fantastic and wonderful. WarioWare Move It also released, which was another game I did not unfortunately get, but I do want to in the future. I'm glad it made more use of the Joy-Con's IR features and everything else with the Joy-Cons because it felt very underutilized and it was only really focused on in the first year of the Switch. So I'm glad that kind of got spotlight more. And while I do have my opinions on the new Mario voice actor, I will say that I'm just glad in general that fully voice acted WarioWare cutscenes are back. They are just so charming and fun. All the WarioWare characters are amazing and I want to see them in more stuff outside of just WarioWare. Make a new Wario Land game where you can play as them. Put them in Mario Kart. Put them in just Mario in general. I would love that. And also while you're at it, put Waluigi in WarioWare. I want to see it. Obviously, I haven't played WarioWare Move It, but it seems like a pretty good game, but I'm sad that they didn't market it as much because I feel like it could have been a lot bigger than it was. Mario RPG then released and was the final big release for Nintendo of 2023, and they closed the year with a bang. I plan on getting Mario RPG, but I unfortunately cannot anytime soon, but I look forward to finishing Mario RPG for the first time. The game looks a lot better, and I'm so glad that they actually brought back Mario RPG, and I'm so surprised they did. It was amazing, and I'm so happy and thankful for them for doing it. I'm glad they got those developers from, I forget who it was, but I'm glad they got them to make Mario RPG. They did a great job on it. I hope they make Mario and Luigi games. Everyone at Nintendo, even though no one's gonna watch this from Nintendo, thank you for making Mario RPG on Switch. I'm so happy. So happy. The graphics are a lot better, the gameplay is a lot more refined, everything in general just feels a lot more fine-tuned, like it can actually be a Switch game instead of an SNES game, although it does kind of still seem apparent that, yeah, this was an SNES game originally. I don't think I've seen a more faithful remake than the Mario RPG remake, and I think that can tell you that this is an amazing remake. It's an amazing game. Play the Mario RPG remake. I will be hopefully soon. And that's all it for the major games of Nintendo's 2023. To conclude, a few other smaller things, like the 1,000-Year Door announcement, were very amazing. They won't release this year, but the announcements in general for this year have been pretty good. We do know that 2024 is probably going to be a lot lighter, unless if the Switch 2 releases next year, or whatever it's going to be called. So, I do want to say thank you to the Switch, thank you for everything you've done, thank you for probably saving Nintendo. This year has been so amazing. For me, for Nintendo, a lot of other people. Nintendo basically made me who I am, which is very strange to say, but it's true. Thank you, Nintendo, and thank you for watching this video.